What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Unpolished, where we have our next long-form guest, Sam Connors. Sam, first of all, thank you for housing me, Colton, and Alex and teaching us goons how to do a backflip. That was very fun.
No problem. I enjoyed it myself.
That was very, very fun, so we really appreciate that. I didn't know the videographer had that in him. The master behind the keys can do a backflip.
I can flip, baby.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Oh, it was it's more mental than anything.
Yeah, it is.
100%. I
Yeah.
think.
For me, that was 100% it. Once I got
Oh yeah.
that first little stutter where I didn't commit, and then after that, I was
were you
like, "Oh, this is so easy. Like I got it."
Yeah, it's not bad at all. It's once you. I don't even think, especially me. I feel like I have a lot of power out of the floor.
Yeah.
I don't even think I really need a tuck like that much. You know what I mean? But how much does the springboard help?
Oh, geez. Well, it depends on the pressure of the springboard.
Like the ones that we were on.
Those are 4-inch springs,
Okay.
so it's based on a lot of body weight.
Okay.
But yet, 90% of it is still the lifting of your own body weight.
Right.
So it just gives you a little bit of boost. You know, you can see people.
You could definitely
depending-
feel it.
You can feel the difference. You can see the difference in air height with different weight sizes and everything. I mean, if you get little ones on those springs, they're not going to bounce very much. But if you get someone who knows how to use the floor, then you'll see a big difference.
Yeah.
a
You
lot-
could
lot of
definitely
speed.
feel it. Yeah. And the more you put like into it, the more power you put into it, it bounces. It returns
Yeah.
the favor.
Exactly.
Does it help the landing at all? Like as far as
it
giving you a little.
It absorbs the
Yeah.
landing a little bit, but it's like a car on shocks. You know, you hit that pothole and it rebounds you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically just a stabilizer.
Yeah, it's a comfy landing. It's definitely helps that mental block too, knowing that
There's something there to catch you.
yeah, it's not going to, it's not concrete. It's not going to stop you in your tracks. It's going to give a little bit if you do fall.
It definitely makes you bounce.
Yes.
I mean, if you can still bounce. Some people just splat. Me, myself, I'm at the point where I just splat. It just splats.
So how'd you get into gymnastics? Like what is your path to gymnastics? How did you start?
Okay, I started back in high school. I was looking for something that wasn't typical stereotype football, track.
The jock, this big dumb jock. That was me.
So I was walking through my high school one day, taking a tour, and there was this room, and it was closed off, and I didn't know what it was. So I opened the door, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is gymnastics. And from that moment on, there it was.
So how old were you when that happened?
I was 14 when it happened. I stayed in gymnastics for the 4 years of high school. I passed my own goal. My goal was to do my own thing, not to be, pushed onto anything. It was what I wanted to do, and when I met that goal, so my freshman year, I said I wanted to be varsity. Sure enough, I went varsity. Sophomore year, varsity. I started out as a specialist, and a specialist does 1, 2, 3 events. But if you're an all-around, you do all 6 events.
Mm-hmm.
So I went from a specialist to an all-around, back to a specialist. My events were floor, vault, and parallel bars.
Okay, so hold on, go back real quick. You were in the high school with this gymnastics room?
Yeah,
So your high school had a gymnastics team?
yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, a lot of
I mean,
schools back
Central
then.
does.
Yeah, a lot of schools back then. You have to admit, I was in the 70s, so you guys were probably still running around in, preschool somewhere.
Yeah.
But in the early 70s, well, I won't say early, I went to high school in 77, graduated in 81. Gymnastics for a black person was not really thought of. At that time, there were only 2, Ron Gallimore and Diane Durham. They were actually on the Olympic team. So it wasn't really a wide sport for people of my culture. That's what I mean by typical stereotype. Basketball,
Yeah.
football, track and field. I didn't want to follow that pattern.
You want to
So-
go against the grain a little bit? Be your own person.
Be my own person. So I
Were you good at basketball? Were you good at football? Like, did you do junior sports?
I did wrestling for a little bit, and that's what everyone thought that I was going to do in high school, because the coaches from the high school saw me in junior high, and they just knew that I was going to be on the wrestling team. But I didn't want to wrestle. I mean, I didn't.
Why is that?
I just wanted something different. I was good at it. I was small.
I can see you being good at that.
I had speed. I had agility, the coordination, and everything. But I just wanted something different. And I pretty much taught myself before I found gymnastics and was actually trained for it. And I just went that route. It was just something that was not ordinary. There were very few blacks in gymnastics within my area. So I grew up in Oak Park. So my district consisted of like Glenbard West, Proviso East, Addison Trail, where kids actually had clubs. I didn't
Yeah.
know clubs existed. I thought it was just high school. So here I am, coming off the street, going to a high school, finding this sport, and I have to say, yeah, I kicked a lot of ass. A lot of people were like surprised to see me come along. I mean, it was just like
For gymnastics.
for gymnastics.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I competed with some of the best kids that went national. I could have
And
gone
you
national.
said you were self-taught initially.
And in the beginning, yeah. In the beginning,
So what was
You
that
know,
like?
just-
You
just like
doing
front flips.
handstands and front. Okay.
front handspring, front flips, back handsprings. And then I realized there was a lot more to it than what I was teaching myself. There was a method. There was a progression.
That's interesting to think about because, today's day and age, if I want to learn something, I just YouTube it. You
Yeah.
didn't have that.
No,
So what'd you use? Did you
I
just
used the
kind of
grass.
flail your body?
grass. Grass, concrete, the school playground,
Yeah.
sand.
So you just flailing your body around figuring out what you can land and what you can stick.
Oh, we always had like you can go to the circus and see people flip and things like
Uh-huh.
that, but it was never anything actually structured to it, but then to see something that was structured was like, wow, this is really interesting. I want to try this.
Well, it was cool today. It was a cool experience because, like I said, I've done a backflip before, and I'm very comfortable doing a backflip on a trampoline. But learning the arms up and tight and chest up and not hip hinging on that, like it's very, very technical. And I can see how, getting those points is so hard. Getting those points are so hard in gymnastics.
Oh yeah, I mean it's everything in the world of gymnastics is, like I said, it's structured. It's based on angle. It's based on projection. It's based on landing. It's based on height. It's based on distance. And me coming up, it was like I never knew the distance. I never knew there were certain heights. I never knew there were certain ways you need to turn your hands. I never knew that there are certain things you had to see. It was all blind. I mean, even though gymnastics is somewhat of a blind sport now,
Right.
it's all based on feel. So as I was explaining to you when we were doing on the tumble track, you have to feel where you are. You got to know where your feet are. You got to see certain things, and you only
Body
see them
awareness
for
has to be super high.
super. It's a mind and body coordination together. It's a lot.
Yeah. So you did high school gymnastics. So that was a high school team.
That was a high school thing.
Okay. Was there such thing as like travel?
Yeah, those are all the kids that came from the clubs. See, my folks didn't have money to put me in a club.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time in my coach's garage and backyard. One of my coaches had a pommel horse. I go to his house during the summer. I'm in the garage. The other coach had a high bar. I'm in his backyard. So I was really determined to be good at what I was doing. But not only to be good, but I wanted to be the best I could be. Not the best that someone wanted me to be, the best I wanted to be. And sure enough, at the end of my high school years, I had 2 scholarship offers, turned them both down because I wanted a life. Gymnastics is a 365-day sport. Vacations, my summer vacations, spent in my coach's garage, spent in my coach's backyard. I had friends, very few, because I was always more just dedicated and focused on that particular sport because I really wanted to see how far I could go. And one day my coach said, have you ever thought about Junior Olympics? I'm like, no, dude. No, never thought about it. Well, you should think about it. So I tried that training, but it was way intense than just the high school training. I'm like, no, dude.
Yeah, you're not living.
I'm not, yeah. Life is sort of short because there were things that you're always inside. You get outside to enjoy certain things, and there's certain things that, I didn't go to parties. I had 2 sets of friends. I had my gymnastics friends, and I had my outside friends. Most of the time, I spent with my gymnastics friends. I saw my regular friends that lived in the neighborhood part of the summer. So if I wasn't with them, I was either at the pool, diving, my coach's garage, his backyard. I just spent a lot of time focusing on being self-disciplined. It was a desire.
So now, when you talk, it sounds like you were extremely motivated. Was that intrinsically, or was that some sort of outside factor? You know, like, were your mom and dad very pushing? Like, did they want you to be good? Did your coach want you to be good? Or did you find a lot of that discipline and motivation within you? You seem like an intrinsic guy.
My family, well, my mom was a gymnast, and I guess when you're a gymnast, it's like in your blood.
Mm-hmm.
Both my kids were gymnasts. Their mom was a gymnast. My grandbaby is a gymnast.
Mm-hmm.
She's only 12 months, and she's in the gym already. So it was more of inside me. I mean, my parents wasn't pushing me. My coach was pushing me, but only because we need to win, So they gave me that push. They gave me that motivation. And yeah, I did want to win. I wanted to show other people that I don't have the money to come from a club, but I do have the determination to be just as good as those kids who had those private lessons, who came from clubs. I mean, I didn't even know that world existed. It was incredible, just fascinating.
That's very cool. So you when you went to your coach's house, were your coaches giving you lessons, or was that kind of you?
Oh
just
no,
doing your own thing?
they were there.
Okay.
They were there with me because I need the form, I need the technique, I needed their knowledge because they were gymnasts. I needed what they had to give me, and they gave me everything they had. So I always said to myself, if they're willing to put in, then I should be willing to accept. And as long as I accepted, they were always willing to put in. I mean, I was taking time away from them and their families, but yet they were there. The family knew, the wives knew, their kids knew that, hey, I'm going to be spending this next hour with one of my kids from the program. And that's what we did.
I feel like there are good coaches in every sport, but I feel like gymnastics is unique in that aspect where the coaches, they are very personable with their athletes. Like, for whatever reason, I've always felt the dedication from a gymnastics coach. Maybe that's from my grandpa. My grandpa is in the Hall of Fame for gymnastics and football at Western Illinois. So maybe that's where it's from for me. He was always like a very disciplined guy, and he told me all his stories about how he would spend hours and hours and hours with all of his athletes, because when he was done with gymnastics, he was a coach for quite a bit.
Yeah, and that's the way it is. I did have the experience during that time of being in high school where I could not afford to go to a gymnastics camp. I didn't know gymnastics camps existed. So my coaches, they both chipped in, sent me to camp, and I made sure that I used at that time, I used wisely, that they didn't feel like they wasted their money. And that instills something in me where I do that today. So if I have a kid in my club, or I know a kid who wants to go to camp, they can't afford it, I'll pay for it. It's called paying it forward. I'll pay for it.
That's awesome.
It's a well investment.
That's awesome. And gymnastics is pricey, no? Like,
Oh yeah, it has gotten pricey.
yeah.
But everything's
So is
gotten
everything.
pricey.
Yeah.
I mean,
Travel baseball, travel basketball, travel this, travel that. It's just, I feel like we've ruined the fun aspect of sports. They've all become these just money-driven monopoly type things where we just want your money and we want to take the highest kid to the highest level. We don't really care if you're having fun. It's not. I feel like it's not about fun anymore.
Well, to me, fun has always been what you make of it. Did you have fun today?
Oh, it was so fun today.
See, there you go.
That's true.
And that's it. Fun can be seen in many different ways. I know that a lot of kids have fun by actually learning something different. And then you have those kids who don't understand what fun is because their parents don't understand what fun. Oh, this is too hard. You've been doing this. You're doing that. No, it's not about. It's how you make it fun. I mean, people.
Isn't that tough for a kid though? Isn't that tough to like sort of decipher? Oh, I should be having fun right now. Maybe if there's a lot of pressure from like a coach or a parent. I feel like it's tough for a kid to maybe decipher that, and I think that's kind of where the issue is that I have with it.
Well, normally being a coach and being in this business as long as I've been in it, I can tell who wants it and who doesn't. You can tell who wants to just come in and have fun, and those kids that are serious.
That's a
about
good
it.
point. Yeah.
You have to be able to distinguish. So those kids that want to have fun stay on the recreational level. And we go from parent and tot, where parent and tot is more of early childhood development. We're learning how to walk, we're learning how to skip, we're learning how to jump, we're learning how to listen, we're learning how to count. So in my facility, it's not about just teaching gymnastics. It's about an overall life, how should I say, what's the word it is? Life skills. So if I can give kids life skill, that's great. I've done my job. If I can give a kid life skill and teach them gymnastics, which takes them a little bit further, that's even better.
I totally agree. We say the same thing to the parents that sign up because, you know, the main intention when someone signs up at TNT, our gym, is, oh, I want my kid to be better at the sport. And I always tell everyone, I'm like, listen, my main goal is to make an awesome young man or young woman. If we get bigger, better, faster, stronger, which will happen with fun and consistency and with us around them, pushing them, that's the second plus. The first plus is I want them to be mature, smart. You know, I want them to know how to feed themselves because that's so big these days, which actually brings me to my next question. As you were training, was nutrition a huge part of your training? Like being that long ago? Like, was it, because it's so big now, right?
This is going to make you laugh. I had the breakfast of champions. Glazed donuts,
Oh,
Mountain Dew,
man, you're
and
one of those
M&Ms.
guys.
That was my breakfast every morning before I started school. Or I'll have a glazed donut, chocolate milk, and M&Ms. But when I got home, I would have a regular meal, and I would eat like a horse. Now, my coaches would always say, hey, you know what? If you're going to do this, you go to Tasty Dogs. Tasty Dog was like the nearest hot dog place. But on this hot dog, they gave you a whole salad. You had tomatoes, you had lettuce, you had onions, you had anything that you could that had roughish to it was on this hot dog. So you had to literally find the hot dog over all the salad. And that's what they would say, you know. But me, I have a very high metabolism.
Yeah, so you were eating these glazed donuts and M&Ms, and you were just shredded, weren't you?
Just burn it off, and I was just, you know, it was just crazy. My body just did it that way. You know?
So did you ever take your diet to the next level where you're like, okay, you know, I hit sort of a plateau in gymnastics. Now let's focus more on diet and the protein intake and things like that.
Yeah.
You no?
Nah.
Dang, that's awesome.
No. My mom would make a regular meal. Okay, tonight we're going to have spaghetti. But my plate was enormous. You know?
Were you like it sounds like you're 2 meals a day.
Yeah. Well, no, I had my breakfast.
Yeah.
I had my lunch.
Okay.
And then by the time I got home, it's like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. So I would just eat then. So between the time I get out of school at 2:45 and ending up practice, there's, you know, water breaks. Sure, there were nutrition bars. We did have trail mix. You know, one of the other kids on the team would go, you know, get some coconut, get some raisins, get some peanuts, get some whatever had a lot of protein to it. And that's what we would have during our practice. Now, was I really focused on that? No. Was I hungry enough to eat it? Yes. So it's all good.
Yeah. So in high school, what were your, like, how did you end up, you know, as a senior? So first you were special. So what did you specialize in initially? Like what was the first event that was like, I want to do this one?
Flipping. I wanted to do floor.
Okay.
So I went in as a tumbler. And then the coach is like, you know, you should just go ahead and do all 6 events. I'm like, no, I don't do all 6 events. So I tried it. And I spent 1 year as
Doing
an
all
all-around.
6.
Yeah, doing all 6 events.
So this is freshman year?
Yes.
Okay.
I did all 6. Second year, I went back to a specialist where I was doing floor, vault, parallel bars, and high bar. Rings were always tough for me. Only because I just couldn't grasp the concept of how to manipulate my body the right way for rings. I made it through it, but it was one of my weaker events. Pommel horse was a big challenge because I'm short. And if you're short, you have to make yourself look long. So I'm pushing every inch of my body. I'm trying to push my bones through my skin to make myself look long. Made it through it. Pommel horse is really designed for guys that are tall.
Wouldn't it be sort of dependent on like ratio as well? I feel like longer arms would really help. So if you're a guy with like maybe a shorter frame, but your arms are long compared to your body, would that help or?
You want the opposite.
the opposite.
Yeah. If you have
Okay.
if you have a shorter upper torso and long legs, it looks gorgeous. It's beautiful. But if you're short and stubby like me, then I gotta make it look beautiful because the longer your legs are for pommel horse, I mean, if you've ever watched like guys like Kurt Thomas or anyone that's really, really tall, swing pommel horse, the movement of their legs are just awesome because that's where it all is.
Yeah,
It's in the lower half.
that makes sense. Now that I think about it, I've never really watched too much gymnastics, but when you do watch it, I could see why like a longer body would look
Yeah, the much
look
better.
nicer.
Yeah. And even swinging high bar, the longer you are,
So when you're talking about
Better
high
look.
bar, it's like the high bar and then like that lower bar, yeah.
no, those are uneven bars for women.
Uneven bars. Okay.
A high bar is a single rail bar, usually made out of titanium now, so it gives. So when you're watching that guy swing on that one bar and he's doing all the twisting and all the flipping nowadays, that we had a little bit of that, but now it's just gotten so so crazy. I'm like, that's insane. But it looks good.
Oh yeah.
It looks good. I mean, I would never try any of it right now, but then again, I'm a lot older. Back then, I was just, I was dumb. Now I'm smart. I was dumb and
You
young.
were
sort of.
immature and now you're mature.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a lot smarter. So, yeah.
The floor was your favorite.
Yeah.
Is that the one you excelled at the most?
I excelled at parallel bars more than I did floor. I don't know what it was, but just something about
So that's the
being.
two-
That's the two bars.
Where you're like in a dip.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
Yeah, I excelled in that tremendously. I mean, I was good on floor. I was better at bars than I felt in vaulting. Those were my three events. The other three was just something that came along after that I filled in for.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So the progression you had mentioned, now it's crazy. So when you were doing it, it was like much less flips. It was much less advanced. And then compared to now where like it's just insane now.
Now it seems like there's a lot more acrobatics to it. I mean, when you're able to swing a bar and you do one skill, but then when you start adding multiples on that one skill, where like a single back flip was awesome, but now you got two, now you got three. Twisting 360 degrees once was great. Then you go to 720. That's even awesome. Now you got them doing, three,
I
four
don't even
twisting.
understand because like even just doing the backflip today, like I could feel like the G-force in my head. I don't understand how these guys and gals are flipping twice and spinning twice. I just do not get it. That's just repetition.
Yeah, gymnastics is all about repetition. As I stated to you earlier, it takes anywhere from 1 to 400 times just to learn a skill. That's not to master it. I can only imagine how many times it takes nowadays. I mean, even with Simone Biles. I mean, she's doing things that no one ever thought of. I mean, she's just she's only like 4 foot tall, I think, maybe. But she's doing skills that nobody would ever even think of actually trying. And now, today, there's a lot of kids that won't even try to do the skills that she does. So she's got this huge gap between her and the generation that's going to follow her. Is there anyone that's ever going to be better than Simone Biles? Don't know. Is she out there? She's out there. We just haven't found her yet.
Mm-hmm.
She's out there. And there's always going to be someone that does something just a little bit better than the next. If Simone Biles ever goes into like actually coaching and open her own facility,
She'll run into some of the best.
she'll run into someone that's going to remind her of her. And she's going to want to take that child. She's going to want to nurture that child. She's just want to be everything to that child.
So when you see someone who's good, I feel like it might be sort of a mixed feeling because in your head, like for instance, you chose life. You said, I want to have a life. So when you see someone that's really good, do you tell the parent like, hey, like this kid could be super good? Or do you kind of nurture it, see what happens? Like what's your approach when coaching someone who's got like crazy potential?
I tell them the same thing I told myself. It doesn't matter what my goals or my expectations may be, but as long as you feel your own personal goals and you've done the best you can do, I'm happy for you. So I don't put that pressure on anyone.
You let them choose.
So I just don't. Now, I did have a kid come to me and says she wants to go to the Olympics. I said, okay. And I sat down with the parents and we talked. And I said, it's going to be a lot of pressure. It's going to be a lot of hard work. You're going to want to quit. I'm not going to let you quit. You're going to get mad at me. You're going to cry.
How old was this person?
She was 4 at the time. Here's the crazy part. I think she's 13 now, and she's on the National Junior Olympic team.
That's awesome.
So I got her as far as I could during the time that I had her, and then they moved to Dakota. Boom. Made the national team there. She left there. Now she's in
What's
Minnesota.
Dakota?
South Dakota.
Oh,
North
South Dakota. Okay. I didn't know if it was like a program.
Yeah, no. She went to a different gym up in South or North Dakota up there. And now she's in Minnesota, and she's at the top of her game.
Monster.
She's a monster. She's not old enough to try for the team yet because she's still very young, but she's on the right track. And what she said to me she wanted to do, she's making it.
That's amazing. Isn't that a good feeling?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, she still comes home. I'm home. She always comes home. And she hangs out with us and everything. And
So is that that's from Corkscrew?
yeah.
Okay, so Corkscrew. Have you guys been in that building this whole time, or?
We've only been there. We've been there for 13 years. There was a few other gyms and cheerleading places there. I was there when it first turned into a gymnastics gym, working with someone else, and then I left and went to school, and then someone turned it into a cheerleading facility, and then it stayed empty for a while. And 13 years ago, a buddy and I decided he wanted to open a gym, brought me into it, and this is why I'm 13 years later, asking myself, why did you do that? Now, when I decided to go into this, I went to some of the other mentors and I said, I want to open a gym. And the first question they asked me was, why? And I said, because it's something I want to do. Are you sure? Of course.
This was one mentor or all the mentors?
They were pretty much all the same.
Okay.
And he's like, well, this is what you need to do, yada, 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 yada. 13 years later, I figured it out. That's why he asked me why. Because it's so much. I mean, it has its ups and downs. It's good and bad. It's like anything.
Well, it's like owning any business, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
Once you dive head first, it's like, okay, well, now you're the guy. Especially as like, the training world when in gymnastics or weight training, you're the guy.
Right.
So you can't. It's not like a retail business where you sell it and someone else can just run it.
Right. So it also takes you out of the gym, though. I like to be. My thing was I love to coach. Being an owner, it takes you away from that. You spend a lot more time in the office. You spend less time with the kids. It's like I said. I should have thought about it. I think I would rather work for someone else than own my own gym. But now that I'm in this situation, I have no choice but to finish the run.
Right.
So.
So after high school, you decide I want a life.
Yeah.
So where'd you end up going to school?
I went to a JC. I went to Triton Junior College, which is up in Melrose Park, up that area. I did have 2 offers. I had one from Michigan State, and I had one from Northern. Northern was not a very good school for a black person to go to back in them days. So I just said, you know what? No, I just want a life. I want to be able to have a job. I want to be able to get a car. I want to be able to just hang out. So I stopped doing gymnastics and I started studying physical therapy. Little did I know, 2 years later, I'll be back in the gym. But I'm on the coaching side of it, more on the, participation side of it. Mm-hmm. So I just kept coaching. One of those things where it's like, okay, I want to do something different. So I can quit the job, take on another job, always go back, quit the job. I kept going back and forth, trying to figure out what I really wanted to do. And along that path, different opportunities came up. I was working in another gym in this area. I came out here in this area in about 89. So this area was predominantly cornfields. Wake up in the morning and the first thing you smell is not coffee, it's manure. Like, wow, where in the hell did I move to? One of the girls that worked there, husband ran Chicago Stunts Association. So I said, hey, how would you like to do stunts? I'm like, stunts like what? Oh, stunt, be a stunt man. I'm like, okay. It was an opportunity. I wanted to try it. I wasn't looking to make it a career, but I had my
Little
aspects of that.
side money.
Yeah, a little
Just
side
a little
money.
side hustle, have a little fun.
Actually, it's good money. Get to hang out with the stars and realize stars are just like us.
Mm-hmm.
They sit down at the same table with you, conversate with them. Everybody sees can you imagine the kids nowadays sitting down with Taylor Swift?
They freak out.
They would freak out.
Yeah.
But they're gonna drink their coffee or drink their drink the same way you do.
That's
you can,
society. Society's
yeah.
done that.
So did the stunt thing for a while. Started to get too old. Couldn't bounce off cars or concrete like I used to. So I put that aside.
So what age was this?
Oh man, I did that for I did it right up until I opened the gym, which was 13 years. I was in my late 40s, mid 50s, around there.
Oh man, you lasted longer than I thought you would.
Yeah. Well, that's because I started at a short period of time. I started much later, where everyone goes out and starts, the acting career early. I wasn't thinking about acting. I'm 30, 35 years old. I was thinking about other things, not acting, but the opportunity came along. So I took it, did it for a while. I'm going to go back to school. Went back to school, got back into physical therapy, got tired of it, left school, went back into gymnastics.
Where did the want for physical therapy come from? Just because you went through all those aches and pains and bruises and bones and you felt like you could return the favor?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, it was more like if I break them, I want to be able to fix them. So that's where the physical therapy came into it. So anytime I break a kid, I can fix them. They go to the normal doctor, get the orthopedics or whatever. But I was like, I want to be able to mix the two together. Physical therapy is about doing everything anatomically correct. Gymnastics defies all principles of physical therapy. You're not supposed to overdo this. You're not supposed to overdo that. You're not supposed to do this. But the human body does adjust. So I did physical therapy up until 13 years ago. Actually, physical therapy assistant up until 13 years ago. Haven't thought about it since. But now I'm thinking about it again. It's crazy. So my life is just a circle. But it's a circle that works around gymnastics all the time.
Movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're. I don't see you in a suit and tie.
Yeah.
That's.
I tried the suit and tie thing.
I saw the panic in your eyes a little bit. Like no.
No. I tried the suit and tie thing there. No. It's not for me.
What was this like? What did you try?
I worked for a retail store, and it was a high-end retail store back in the day, where you had to wear the shirt and tie, the jacket. You had to look the part. I'm like, damn tie. I can't handle that anymore. So, but
No way.
it was all.
I like it dressed up. Don't get me wrong. Like get to go to a wedding and look nice.
Yeah.
That's fun. But if I had to do that every day,
Yeah, well, I did it for a long time.
What retail store was it?
It was a place called Capper and Capper.
Capper and Capper.
Yes, they actually Brooks, high end suits, tailored suits.
Oh, so you had to be dressed to the nines every day.
Every day. I feel
like that would
they
get
sold
really
to actors, stars, mayors.
And this is in this area?
No, this was in the city. I lived in the city. Well, actually, I lived in Oak Park, which was close to the city. So I was always downtown, Michigan Avenue, that area. Marshall Fields, where Marshall Fields was built. Brook Brothers, Robert Talbot ties, pinpoint Oxford shirts with the button-down collars. And I looked the part,
Yeah.
But it was all good.
So you started the gym 13 years ago.
Yeah.
So are you co-owners then with your...
I actually bought my partner out.
Okay.
So I pretty much own it on my own.
Got it. Going back to injuries, I actually wanted to ask you this when we were filming the Less Polished. Have you ever had any crazy injuries that happened with under your watch? Like, has anything ever broken back and snapped arms?
I would say that the biggest accidents we ever had in this gym, knock on wood, is I had one kid break her arm
one kid break her arm?
I have not had any serious injuries because I do what I call injury prevention. And one of the biggest things is safety's always first. Always. And as you were saying how, kids get into a routine of things, I have what I call guidelines. Most people, if you talk to someone who has experienced my gym, they tend to have an attitude with me because I'm too strict. But I'm not strict. I'm just stern
And careful.
and careful. A lot of people don't see that. I had a couple kids come from a different gym to do open gym. Well, at the end of the night, kid came to me, I'm not coming back to this place. Well, what's the problem? You got too many rules. I said, oh, you were looking for jungle gym, not open gym. No, we don't do jungle gym here. Yeah, we have to have guidelines. You go to Great America, you got guidelines. Oh, you're too short. You can't get on the ride. You think the guy's going to let you get on the ride because that's what you want to do? No, it's not going to happen. You have to have something set, responsibility. First thing the kids do when they come to my gym, I teach them responsibility. Take off your shoes, hang your coat, come to the door, be respectful, say hi to your coach, let me check your feet. Dirty feet doesn't work in the gym, But those are things, some parents are impressed with the fact that I do that. And some parents are like, why are you doing that? Well, this is something that you should be teaching your kids
culture.
at home. This is part of responsibility.
How many trigger some people?
Yo, yeah. How many kids
Have you
go
said
home?
it like that to parents?
Yeah.
How do
How
they
many-
respond to that?
They weren't happy about it. But
Yeah.
see, that's the type of person I am. I'm not going to sugarcoat. When you're an adult and you have a child, your child should be able to come home from school, hang their coat, put their book bag away, put their shoes away. How many parents let their kids come home from school,
All of
kick
them.
off their shoes, throw off their coats, throw down their backpacks, and the parent picks them up? That's not your responsibility. But you're making it your responsibility, which makes it sort of difficult when you bring your child to me because that's not going to work in my house. It's just not going to work.
Does this run into an issue with kids? Like, can you pick out the kids that kick off their shoes and throw their stuff?
Oh, yeah, there's the one that come in and kick off their shoes and you say, everybody come out of class. Where are we going? Well, someone's shoes, and I don't know whose they are out of place. Someone's coat's on the floor. If it's not your coat, it's not your shoes, don't worry about it, just go back in. But the point is that you need to have some type of responsibility and some type of respect for people's places. And that's another one of my things, is respect. If your child doesn't respect you, what makes you think your child is going to respect someone else? So they're going to get the responsibility of hanging their clothes. They're going to get the understanding of respect. And it's just those things. I mean, kids go to other people's houses, and you ask yourself, well, if you don't do this at your house, how do you do it at someone else's house? But then you were never taught. And these things are just something that I feel that should be instilled in the home. There's just certain things that just should start in the home. Some people like me for it, say, can you come home with me? No. But we can work together because once upon a time, it took a village. And then I get those people, well, why did my kid have to pick up his coat? Because he's not at home. What happens if some kid throws his shoes off, another kid comes in, or even worse yet, a grandma comes in and trips over his shoes? Who's responsible for that? Are you going to take the responsibility? No, it's going to fall on me. So to avoid that issue, we learn simple things that should be taught. You say hi to me, I say hi to you. And then I ask these kids, well, how many of you guys go to school and say good morning to your teachers? You should try it sometime. Your teacher will really like you. You would put a smile on your teacher's face that she or he will never forget. Just little things.
That's true.
It's just little things.
I always tell, especially around like Thanksgiving time and the holiday time when you're seeing all the family, I always tell the kids, go have a conversation with your grandmother. Go have a conversation with your grandpa and watch their world light up. Because typically kids are, the grandparents have to pick and poke. Because I remember they have to pick and poke at the conversation. They're like,
Right.
hey, how's school? How's this? What sports are you doing? What's your favorite color? And they have to pick and poke. But imagine if, little 12-year-old Billy was like, Grandpa, tell me a war story. Grandpa, you were really good at gymnastics. Like, what was your favorite event? It would light you up.
You would be so surprised. I mean, me myself, it's like, where am I at? Did it just happen? Yeah, I mean, even like just in today's society, I think men have it easier than women because if you're walking down the street and a guy passes you, you do the nod thing. You don't have to say hi. You just
Like,
just
so
just do the nod thing.
I get that a lot. I think it's because I'm a little bigger. I kinda get it. So
Yeah, I mean, but then again, it's. I've never walked past a female and did the nod.
that's true.
You don't. It's a
I
bad
smile.
thing.
I like to smile.
Yeah, I
a
like to
lot.
smile.
Like if we make eye contact, I'll just smile.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't know what to
smile.
do, so I'm just gonna smile.
Exactly. When you hold a door for an older person, they're not expecting you to hold that door. But if you hold that door and step to the outside and let that older man or the grandma come through, that lights their world because they still see that there are still some people in the world that are nice. And it's a great thing, especially when you got little kids. Can you imagine you go out to dinner and some little kid comes over and says, "Hey, how are you?
I love that.
I like your hat. Where did you get your hat?" And it's like, did this kid really just come over here? You don't see that because people have become, in my opinion, have become so antisocial. I can talk to you all I want behind a keyboard. I can tell you all kinds of things. I can call you all kinds of dirty names behind a keyboard. But will I do that to your face? Doubt it. Thank you. Welcome. No, thank you. Little things that are just not there anymore. And that's when I opened the gym, that was my thing. I was not just about teaching gymnastics. I wanted to give them social skills. I wanted to give them life skills. If I get a kid that comes in, takes off their shoes, hangs their coat, says hello, part of my job is
Boom.
done. Now, you don't do that just with me. You do that with anyone. When you go to your friend's house, say hello to Mr. and Mr. Smith. Instead of just running in and saying, "Hey, is Johnny home?" "Yeah, he's upstairs in his room." Just say hi. "How was your day?" That would really shock me because now you got to come up with a response like, "What do you mean, how's my day?"
What's this little kid talking about?
"Hey, did you have a good day today?" It's just simple things, just conversation. It's just a lot. Cognitive development.
Basic human interaction skills.
Well, some people call those common sense. Just and like.
But
you
it's
said-
not anymore.
No, it's not.
It's not. Have you noticed? Because we've talked about it before on the podcast, where we have absolutely noticed a decline in social skills. Have you noticed it with kids coming in?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'll get a kid that comes in. First of all, I still, regardless, some of these kids have never really been in front of a black person, male or female. So they automatically go into that mode of either shyness or I'm afraid.
You think it's because you're black sometimes?
Oh, it's still there. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's still there. I mean, you get some kid that's never been around a black person or anything, it's still there. Especially a man like me, because I have that voice, that I for some reason the people are intimidated by me, and I don't understand why. I mean, it's just that. But
Well, I think people are intimidated by confidence a lot, and you're a confident guy. Like I remember when I met you, like, "Hey, I'm Sam. How are you?" Well, you come
Yeah.
off not afraid, and I think that makes people afraid sometimes.
Yeah. And getting back to, kids nowadays, kid comes in and they're clenching their parent. It's like, I mean, they're holding on to their parents for dear life. Now, it may not even be me. I could be standing somewhere else and I'll see this. And mom or dad will say, "Well, she's shy," or "he's shy." It's like, and I ask myself the question, why is that? Are you not teaching your kid how to socialize? And see, that's another thing. On my list, on my core values, social skill development is on that list.
So you have like a list for Corkscrew.
Yes, we have a core value, and it starts out with responsibility, because there's R. We start out with the next level of elevating one's self-esteem. There's the E. But by the time you get to the bottom of the list, if you circle all of those down the sideline, it spells respect. That's all. That's what it's all about. I mean, to me, it's about respect. Respecting others, respecting teachers, respecting a person that's older than you. I mean, those were common things that I was brought up in because I'm one of those boomers. You know, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir.
Do you
Thank you,
teach them to
welcome.
say yes, sir?
Pardon me?
Do you teach them to say yes,
No,
sir?
I don't teach them to say yes, sir. I mean, that might really tick some people off. You know, there are boundaries, but I feel that some things that shouldn't have boundaries. No, I don't have them call me sir. I don't have them call me mister. They call me Coach Sam. I know their names, they know my name. We get to know each other, we have fun with each other, but yet it's just these little ones, and they want to use the pandemic as an excuse.
Oh, for lack of social, the parents want to use the pandemic.
As an excuse for lack of social skill development.
I think there's a fair argument, because a lot of these parents didn't know what the hell to do. So they just panicked and they just went with the flow of let's let them learn everything online. Let's sit them in front of this screen. They're like, this is what they're telling us to do. So it's got to be okay. When really you were deeply hindering your child's development, deeply.
Yeah, I mean, it's like all those moms and dads that work jobs, okay? When they got stuck at home with their kids and they had to deal with their own children, they had no clue.
No clue.
What to do or how to do it. Where's the nanny? Nanny's not here anymore because she's stuck at home. Mom is trying to work in the living room, and here comes little Sally. Mommy, 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 mommy.
I'm busy. I'm busy. Go watch TV.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay. But I can understand that aspect because they're used to being at the office. But my thing is, when and where do you find time to spend with your kid? Because you leave your kids at 7 in the morning. You get home at 6, 7 o'clock at night. You have dinner, kids off to bed. Where's that time
Who's
for
raising
you?
your kid?
Exactly. Oh, here's a tablet. Google it.
Oh, man. That is my biggest irk when we are like out to dinner and you see 2, 3, even 4 kids sometimes. And then the parents too, they're all staring at the screen. Every single one for 10, 15 minutes at a time. Not a word is said. And the whole family's looking at their phones. I'm just like, oh my God.
That irks me too because I see it all the time. It's like, okay, you go out to dinner and the family goes out to dinner. That is supposed to be time that you sit there and you guys
Enjoy with
talk
each other.
and talk with each other. But when they're all on their phones and, everybody's over here and everybody, I mean, even when I go to relatives' house for holidays, the teenage kids are on their phones. They're not socializing with grandma, grandpa, cousins, or nothing. They're just all so stuck to social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, oh my stars. I mean, some places and some of my friends are like, okay, if you're coming to my house, I got a basket at the front door.
Put the phone in.
Put the phone in. And
This is your house?
my house, some friends' house. It just depends on what we're trying to achieve. So if my kids come to my house, no, you turn the phone off. I go see my dad, you put your phone down. We're having a conversation. We're talking about old sports, new sports, but it's just that act of being able to speak, being able to talk without sitting over there and I'm talking to you, but I'm talking to you doing this. Or better yet, we're texting each other and we're sitting right here next to each other. It's like, why are we texting each other? We're right here. Yeah, social media has its ups and downs. I mean,
I could argue both, but I do think ultimately it's an overall negative to especially the youth. Overall, I believe it's a negative. And we've talked about this, Alex. You agree, correct?
Yeah, 100%.
It's so crazy how something can connect so many people. Connect you so like I'm a touch of a button away from someone in China.
yeah.
It can connect you so immediate and yet distance everyone so much. So I told Alex, so we're trying to grow this podcast. One thing that I heard from another podcaster, I can't remember who it was, but he's like, Snapchat's like a cheat code. So I'm like, all right. So I just started quick adding. Are you familiar with Snapchat?
Yeah.
So I just quick adding everyone on Snapchat. I'm just add. So then I have more people that I can reach out to. It is crazy the amount of people that will just snap the side of their face to me and just say streaks. So the goal of Snapchat to a lot of kids is to have streaks. Streaks is me, like if you and I were snapping. Every day that we snap each other, it adds a streak. So these kids are all trying to get thousands and thousands of streaks. There's no actual reward. It's this stupid point system.
It's so weird.
It's so
like I've never understood it.
It is,
and I don't do it. And there are people
Sam.
my age, and they're like,
Sam. There are 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, because I'm just quick adding everyone. I'll admit it. I'm trying to get a huge portion of people that I can just click and send a podcast to. 40, 50, even I think this guy looked maybe 60 years old. Snap me their face and says, "How's your day?" And, the sentiment of asking how someone's day is, we like that. But to a stranger on a screen who you have no idea who I am, none of my personal information is on my Snap. I think my Snap is Super Steve or something like that. The amount of people that send S for streaks or ask for streaks or are looking for that companionship from me, a complete stranger on my phone, is so bizarre. There was one guy. He was snapping me all day. He has no idea who I am. I just quick added him. No idea who I am. Apparently, I learned all this just because he was sending me, a stranger, random snaps. He got dumped. He decided to day drink all day. He finished a bottle of wine, and then he finished some Jack Daniels, and then he was on to like 4 Locos. And I finally messaged him. I was like, "Stop. You're not okay. Go to sleep. Wake up tomorrow. Go for a run. Here's my number. Give me a call." I seriously said that. And he's like, "I don't even know who you are." I was like, "Exactly. You are sending me Snapchats of you getting plastered because you got dumped. Not healthy." And I had like maybe a 5-minute conversation. I was like, "I'm not going to stay here, but listen, you have my number if you ever want to talk." Because only someone who is trying to self-destruct, trying to bury emotions, trying to get past some sort of traumatic event, in this case a breakup, is going to reach out to a stranger and share their day like that for attention. And we've created this crazy society where we're looking for attention in all the wrong places instead of, like, Sam, I made a friend in you. Like, I would consider you a friend at this point, like, to hanging out with you all day. And all we did was converse. I stopped by. I brought my kids to the gym. I wish more people would think like that instead of, I need more friends on Facebook. I need more followers on Instagram.
Well, see, that's the thing. I mean, I feel the same way. I am not a big fan of Facebook, but I have a Facebook page. I have a Facebook page because of the gym. I don't do Instagram because I'm not Instagram intellect. I don't do Snapchat because I just don't. I would rather walk down the street, bump into someone and say, "Excuse me," and have a move on my day, or say, "Hey, how you doing? You look familiar. Do I know you from somewhere?" Just to start a casual conversation. I mean, people used to conversate in grocery stores. Not anymore. I mean, if you happen to be in the same aisle or something or another and you say, "Wow, this stuff is really expensive," then someone would just say, "God, you're right. Look at the price of this stuff." But now it's so to the point where people don't talk.
Well, they almost take offense to it when you start a conversation as a stranger.
People are offended when you say hello, walking down the street. Hello used to be the way to go. Back in my day, and I'm going to go back some down, I could be walking down the street, see an attractive young lady, whistle at her, or get out of my car, stop, and sit there and have a conversation with her. You try doing that now, you're a stalker. Your intents are wrong. And it's like, but you'll talk to me and tell me all kinds of intimate and deep details about yourself on the internet. Internet people, to me, people feel safe because you can't physically touch them. Whereas in the real world, I can bump into you. I can shake hands with you. I can nod at you. But you don't really know who you're talking to on these screens. I mean, what is that show? Catfish?
Mm-hmm. still to this day, people are being catfished. Of all the ways that you could figure out if someone's real, people are still like, I think they still make new episodes. Do they not?
I'm not sure. I never really watched it.
If they do, that's insane. Because how can you fake who you are at this point? There's FaceTime, there's Snapchat. Oh, my camera's broken. Okay, well then I don't believe who you are.
And see, that's the other thing too. People, I mean, especially there's a lot of scam artists out there, and sometimes you think you're talking to a female or something, but you're talking to some guy over in West India or Nigeria or something other. Until you say, "Hey, why don't you send me a picture of you?" Or better yet, why don't you give me your phone number? Or better yet, give me your email address. And they can't provide you with those things. So there are little clues out there that you can pick up on. But I just don't waste my time with that. I just
all these
I just don't.
these catfish people too. They do all of that, and there's always like an excuse. Oh, my camera's not working tonight. Oh, I lost my email or something. And they still are just so set on this person being like their relationship. That's how desperate people are for real connection. That's actually a good idea, and it signifies, like, I think what society has done. Again, we've connected everyone at the push of a button, but we've distanced everyone socially so much. There's people that are being catfished, and they know they're not real. They know it's not a real person, but they desperately need this person, and they need this attention. And like, oh, they texted me back at 11 o'clock at night. No one else texted me back at 11 o'clock at night. I need this person in my life. And they go through this entire process knowing damn well this person is not real, not who they say they are, and they fall for it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane. It's just, and I really feel more so for the children that is coming up in this day and decade. I mean, I see my own daughter doing it sometimes, and I'm like, I'm not really good with that, but she's just my grandbaby. She's not my baby.
Doing what? Doing like Snapchat?
Here's a tablet. Here's a tablet.
I'm guilty of resorting to it when I mean, absolutely need to.
When you need to, yes, but not when you have time to spend with your child, and you're just doing this because you don't want to spend time with your child. You know what I mean? Or you might be cooking dinner. Okay, well, here you go. And then it's like, well, what age do you give a child a tablet or a cell phone? I mean, that could be based on many different things. Could be based on, a whole lot. But from the time they're born until the time they start walking and talking and sort of, you should have conversation. That's just my feelings. Now, if you're in a car and you're driving, if you're in a car and you're driving and the kid's getting aggravated, and antsy and everything, okay, pull out the tablet. But whatever happened to those road games that we used to play? Hey, find a license plate from this state. Do this to the truckers, see if they blow the horn. Now it's like, just keep them quiet.
Headphones, tablet.
Just keep them quiet.
Yeah, give them a movie.
Yeah.
And I could also argue, like Stevie, for instance, he's learned so much from some of the shows and things that he watches, because the shows are just so good now. They're so good. They're so captivating. The colors. There's a science. Someone developed some sort of science with these shows, and they learned that science like Coco Melon. Coco Melon was like an explosion. They figured it out with Coco Melon. That show is like, kids just go, they just stare like, oh my God, what is going on this TV? And they're just in this trance. And, so many shows can do that to my kids. But like Blaze, for instance, I love Blaze. Have you heard of Blaze?
No.
Blaze is like this truck, and he's always solving some sort of town issue in Axel City, and there's trajectory, and he teaches kids like distance and power and spring, and it's a very cool show. I love it.
See, now I can agree with all of that. I mean, if it's going to be educational, great. But if it's just something to fill the time that you don't want to spend with your kid because you're on the cell phone talking to your girlfriend, or worse yet, you're on the internet. It's not really anything serious, but you're just there because there's a conversation that's going on with, you and maybe 10 other people, but it's not, that important where you shouldn't be spending time with your kid, Now, I think it's Miss Ruby. I think there's one called Miss Ruby, and my little one is learning sign language. I adore that.
Oh, is she's like a human?
Yeah, she's a
Yeah,
human,
shit.
and she teaches sign language. Now,
That's amazing.
my little one, she's like I said, 12, 14 months, and she's actually learning how to sign. Those are great shows. But would I use that
On the regular.
on a regular to give to her so I can have time to go, do something else? Not if I have the time to spend with her. I mean, I'm not saying that there's not a lot of educational shows and stuff out there that's good for kids, but everything should be at a moderation. That's just my thing. Just a moderation, Because, like, I don't do, like I said, I don't do a lot of Facebooking and stuff like that. I mean, there's a couple apps out there that I'm on, but it's good information. It's not a bunch of people bitching. It actually
Twitter.
It actually tells
Or
me,
X.
hey, there's a great sale going on at this place, or can someone recommend this? Has anybody heard of that? Or it's actually people communicating, and not bitching all the time.
I do think Facebook has its positives.
Oh yeah, it does.
That's where I got. We're picking up a dog. That's where I found the dog.
Yeah, see.
I think like everything Mchenry, so like there's a Facebook page dedicated to what's going on in Mchenry, and me and my wife, we've seen a lot of events that we've attended because of those types of pages. So like I said, it's but moderation.
Yeah, it's moderation. And
Moderation.
I mean,
Like, am I looking to just scroll for hours, or am I looking for something? Like, am I finding, because the mindless, and everyone's guilty of it.
Yeah.
Everybody, like, I've done way too many hours of mindless scrolling, and it does such an amazing job of just
suck you in.
Suck you in and then scroll.
It suck you in
scroll,
because you're always waiting to see the next one. You're waiting to see what comes up next.
Yeah.
I mean, it's designed that way. That's what it's meant to do. It's meant to give you these tiny dopamine hits. So it's like you're playing a slot machine. It's the same principle. It's like, well, if I swipe
Sometimes
again,
you
I
just
might
gotta-
get the hit.
You know when to walk away. I mean, there's, like I said, there's certain things out there that are good, and there's certain things that's out there that's just like people just have no other choice. I mean, what's going on in Mchenry, what's going on in Woodstock. I'm from Woodstock, so I like to know what's going on in there. I know when there's going to be like festivals or a new places opening up where they got really good food, or something of that nature. We're going to be the 5K runs, just different things. No,
Are you a runner?
No, I'm a walker.
Yeah, wait,
I
hold
only
on.
run, only
Hold on.
run when I have to.
I think you could have said no quicker. Are you a runner?
So, I mean, it's just current events and things. That's great. If you're depending on what you're into. If you're into car shows, they can let you know where the next car show is or next cruise night. But if you get people on there and they talk to you about, cruise night fucking something, I don't want to hear all of that. If you didn't like it, you just didn't like it. It's just keep some of your personal thoughts to yourself.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
But I love what I'm doing. I love the kids. It's ups and downs all the time. And if I can give a kid good guidance and influence, and even with some of the parents I have, it's become a family thing. It's family oriented. They're having difficulties at home with their kids, so they come talk to me. So then in turn, I go talk to the kid and let them know that, your mom and dad are having this issue with you, and this is something that you shouldn't be doing, so here's what we're going to try.
Isn't that funny? Like, a kid won't listen to mom and dad, but then as soon as someone like me or someone like you says something to them, they're like, yep, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Why didn't I think of that?
I mean,
Why didn't I think of that idea?
I have parents that say, the other night, Onyx wouldn't do this or something or another, and yada, 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 yada. But I told her, I'm going to tell Coach Sam. And you know what? She had no problem doing it. That's great, but don't use me. Don't
Right.
use me, to traumatize your kid and things of that nature. or
Because
threaten your
then that
kids.
does affect your relationship.
yeah,
You
it-
become sort of the punisher in their mind.
And I don't believe in punishing. I do believe in positive reinforcement. To me, punishing a child doesn't get anything done. You give a child positive reinforcement. Now, your physical fitness. Okay, so you screwed this up. So let's do some push-ups. Give them something that they're gonna get something out of. Make them.
That's my
physically-
go-to. Drop down, give me 10 push-ups.
Push-ups.
You messed up.
Yeah,
You messed up.
push-ups.
It's okay, but you
Yeah.
messed up.
No, so we did so many push-ups last week. We're gonna do sit-ups this week. Mm-hmm. You try to round it out a bit, but I try to instill in these kids that positive reinforcement, even with parents, positive reinforcement is great. Give them something that they're gonna get something out of. Don't just put them in a corner. Don't send them to their bedrooms. Instead of, doing that or something or another, Take them in the kitchen with you. Here, you're gonna dry these pots and pans while I wash. We're gonna go out to the garage and we're gonna wash the car. You wipe, and I wash and you dry.
So you're against like timeout?
To a certain extent.
Okay.
Once something doesn't work, it's timeouts gives them time to think, but it also gives them time to play. I mean, I used to use timeout with my kids, and it worked to a certain extent. You know, the whole 1, 2, 3 discipline book or whatever, read that one, did it. But I just feel that more exercising, a little more physicalness, getting outdoors and stuff is a better alternative than just giving them a timeout.
Okay. I'll have to try
I mean,
that.
that's just my point of view, my thought.
Yeah. No, I'm curious. I'm always down to try new things. Like with Stevie. 'Cause Stevie doesn't seem to respond super well to timeouts, and he's always trying to like wiggle out of the timeout spot. We have like a little corner upstairs. We're like, hey, just sit there, think about what you did. You know, like if he tries to whack me or whatever, it's like, hey, dude, we don't do that. Go sit in your timeout. So maybe wash some pots and pans.
But now, yeah, see, it's giving them something to do, and then you can actually have conversation with them. Like you can actually say, well, you know, you sort of did this, and it's not really a good thing. You know, maybe you should think about things a little bit differently. It gives you time once again, but you're getting time with your kid, and you're teaching them right from wrong. You're showing them how to have respect for certain things.
I think that's the answer too. The answer is really simple. It's spend more time with them.
Yeah.
Spend more time with your kids.
And like I said, when you give a kid timeout, no, kids in timeout,
And you're
that's
somewhere else.
upstairs, and you're somewhere else. So what are they doing?
Right.
And it gets really quiet. You know they're into something because it's just way too quiet now.
Sure.
But if you give them something, like if you take them outside and walk, you're getting endurance, you're getting fresh air. They're getting something besides not getting nothing. But once again, that's just my opinion.
Sure.
I mean, exercise is great. You know exercise is great. Hey, we're going to go for a run. But then they might catch on. Wait a minute. I got in trouble. Now I got to go run. And then, you know, and even in the gymnastics world, running has become a no-no. Because our government in gymnastics feels that a lot of coaches was using running to discipline. Okay, you did this, you didn't get this right, go run. You just go run. I saw running, and I still see running, as a endurance builder. It gives you time to think, it gives you time to cool down, it gives you time to come back and reflect. Can't do that anymore. But we can use running as a warm-up. We can use running as a cool-down. You just can't use running because this kid is having issues. Well, yeah, there is a difference there, but it's frowned upon a great deal. So
Right.
positive reinforcement to me is always better. Go do 10 pull-ups. Go do 10 leg lifts. You know, go point your toes 10 times. Do 10 releves. Do 10 turns. They're getting something out of it, even though in the back of your mind, in my mind, yeah, you're getting disciplined, but I'm going to call it positive reinforcement, and you're getting something out of it, which makes it positive.
Right. So how do you feel about like a punishment like spanking when it comes to kids?
Every now and then, child needs to be popped in the mouth. Child needs to be popped in the mouth. I'm sorry. You know, every now and then, you need to slap the taste out of his or her mouth.
Oh,
Because when it comes out, when it comes out to it, you have this kid that will go to school, look at their teacher because their teacher says something to him, and they'll look at you like, well, fuck you. I don't gotta do this.
You're so right.
You know? I mean, you're not talking about beating the kid.
No,
you're
just
talking
a little
about
pop.
just one good smack to let them know that is completely like unacceptable.
Yeah,
I-
and it's
I-
got to take something pretty big for a good smack, though. You know, it's.
I mean, yeah, it's got to be something really big that the positive reinforcement didn't get to, that the timeout didn't get to.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be something that's like really warrant that pop. You know, you have
like
pushed,
if you called your teacher the C word, okay, we're popping you in the mouth.
yeah, definitely, because that is just total disrespect. Where would that even come from? I was reading an article the other day. A kid went to school, high school kid, came home from school and told his mom or her mom, whichever, don't know if it's a girl or boy, told the parent that the teacher cursed me. Well, my first reaction
Did
was,
you deserve it?
that was my first reaction. What did you do to tick this person off?
Yeah.
Because you have to push. And this was a
Because a teacher wouldn't do that for no reason.
it was a principal, vice principal, and you ask yourself, well, what did you do? And then she got all these feedbacks because her question was, should I approach the teacher? Should I call the school district? Should I do the superintendent thing? Should I, just go way off limit? When it's just like, well, the most common things you're gonna do is ask yourself, well, what did you do what did you do? You just didn't. He just didn't come up to you and start cursing you. You had to go really, really far. Now, me being the person I am, and I've been in the school districts. I've been in different districts with junior high students, LD, BD students, high school. There comes a point when you just want to, ooh, man, you keep me from peeling your head. I mean, seriously, you just want to. Slap the freaking taste out of their mouth. Yeah. My grandmother, God rest her soul, we lived in a neighborhood where everybody knew everybody.
Yeah.
All the kids knew everything. My grandmother had this saying, I will hit you so hard that it would be the best $100 I've ever spent. Because back then, $100 got you out of jail. It was her bail money. And I'm just like, and today I think that, well, now it's a little bit more.
A little bit, yeah. It's like 10 grand probably for
Yeah,
smacking a minor.
It's just it. And people were just like, well, is this kid a minor? Or, he's not, this person is in high school. Now, here's the really weird thing about it. A couple of weeks before she made this post, she was inquiring if there were any private schools in the area because she has a rebellious kid. Now, here's this vice principal getting ripped by these parents, not knowing the full story. So you already know you got a rebellious kid. The principal, vice principal, cursed your kid. You already know. You don't need to even ask that question.
But this vice principal gets torn apart in the process.
In the process.
Like, you should never be allowed to swear. They're humans.
That's what I said too.
So if you're a dick, you have to expect a dick response.
Yeah, and we're human, so we have proverbial slips. You little mother. Oops, didn't mean to say that. But that's how it was. But she actually admitted, and once again, when people talk, people always say things that makes you look bad. Mm-hmm. And then there's always two sides to every story. When people come to me and try to rip me...
There's three sides. There's your story, my story, and the truth.
Right. Okay, stand corrected. So when people come to me and want to belittle me or cut me down, I do not argue. Here's how I reply. Thumbs up.
Big
and
smile.
a smile. They can't go any further.
My favorite one, driving. So when you're driving and someone just gets pissed off, I just give them a thumbs down. You don't know how to react. Like, thumbs down.
Exactly. I mean, it's crazy, but the world is crazy. I enjoy what I do. I had fun with you guys today. Maybe I can teach you guys how to twist next time.
That's okay. I was telling Colton, I was like, I'm pretty confident I'm going to get this backflip first try. I want to learn like a half with it.
Okay.
It's like some with the shoulders, right? You got like dip the shoulder.
There's many different ways of twisting.
Okay.
And we just have to find the one that suits you. Now, your body is going to naturally do. So you're going to naturally want to go with whatever your body does. I mean, I know we got our sidetracks on talking about this. But yeah. It's like when you're walking. Your brain just tells you to go, and either you're lefty or you're righty.
Yeah, you're gonna have your go-to movements,
right?
Your movement patterns that are just ingrained in you,
right?
No matter what they're from,
right? So I have kids who are right-handed, civilians, but they come into the gym and do everything lefty. I'm not gonna change that because that's what the brain and their body field is comfortable. So we just work with it,
right. And
then you have vice versa, where you got people who are lefty who come in and do everything righty. Yeah. So those are little things that you pick out and figure out what's what. And then, you got kids who don't know their left hand from the right hand. It's like, raise your right hand. They look at you like...
They've been holding that tablet too long.
Okay, let's try running. You'd be amazed. The kids can't run.
Oh, I'm not amazed. Yeah, I train kids for a living. I am not amazed at all, dude.
It's a natural ability. It's like blinking, breathing.
Not anymore.
Exactly.
Not
so
anymore?
what's happening?
Well, the kids get to opt out of gym class now. Did you know this? You can opt out of gym class because you're uncomfortable. This is a thing in high school. So you have options. You have like strength class, you have gym class, and then you have something else, or I don't know. There's levels of gym class. Whereas I'm sure when you grew up, that was like
That was the highlight.
right.
Going to PE?
Yeah, and kids. So did you when you went to PE? Did you have requirements for like pull ups, push ups? Did you have tests and stuff like that?
We had what they call, and I think they still call it the presidential test.
Yeah. Is that
which
Kennedy? That's Kennedy. The presidential test.
Where you do the sit-ups, how many sit-ups you could do, how many pull-ups you can do, how many push-ups you can
Didn't
do.
Kennedy bring that in?
Kinda. I think, yeah, he started like a really rigorous physical fitness program that he wanted in schools, and I think it kind of fizzled. It's not really what it should have been. But like you see those videos of
The videos
like the
of
gym
those kids
classes
back
in the
in the day.
60s, yeah.
And they're all
like,
doing monkey bars for
and they're all shredded.
all
They
shred.
all look great. Yeah, and they're doing
If you-
pull-ups. They're cranking out dead
Oh,
hang pull-ups, and
If
I'm
you
like,
took 20 randomized control trial, you took 20 kids out of high school, I don't think more than 2 can do a pull up.
Well, I'm seeing that even with kids that are 5 and 6 year old, coordination is just not there. I mean, it's ridiculous that because sometimes I look at these kids that are 9 and 10 years old and I say, "What are you guys doing, gym?" And they look at me like, "Gym, PE."
Yeah.
He's like, I did not know that they were pulling PE or they had options to
Options, especially in high school. High school has options. I know that.
Well, high school's got a bunch of issues anyway. Those kids are just,
They got like litter boxes and stuff now.
Hey, you heard about? Oh, here's one for you.
How do you not hear about that?
I heard about the litter box thing.
I thought it was a myth. Like I thought it was like crazy myth, but it is
I don't know.
absolutely.
Allegedly, it is a myth.
But no, I have personal like people anecdotal in the school system
Yeah.
that said
Yeah.
we had a litter box in there for about a day, and then parents freaked out. We took it out.
Interesting. My sister, her psychology teacher, like went on a whole thing about how that's a big myth and it was, conformity and you tricked people. And then I tried to prove it and I'm like going on Google and every news article is like, oh, it's a myth, it's a myth, it's a myth. But also I'm like, do I really trust Google though? Not really. So
Well, with that being said, I think it just depends on who you talk to and where you talk to. Some people will probably put it out there and then become totally embarrassed that they did it. I have a friend
As you should be.
I have a friend who's she works in another gym, and one of the parents came to her and said, "Did you hear about such and such?" And she's like, "No." She goes, "Well, she tried to take her kid to a veterinarian, and the veterinarian turned her down." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" So apparently, people are getting to the furry thing, and they're taking it to a whole new extent. And she goes, "You're kidding." She's like, "You're joking, right?" She goes, "No." She literally took her kid to a veterinarian instead of pediatrician. And
Because the kid asked.
because the kid is a furry. I don't know what type of animal she was, or pretending to be, or wanted to be. But the guy was like, "I'm sorry, no,"
Yeah.
And then there was another guy who took his son in for a physical, and as soon as the doctor got in the office, he goes, asked the kid, "What gender are you?" And the father was like, he was a boy when he first walked in here, So
Well, I think that's part of the problem is we're planting this possibility that you can be another gender, and kids are like, wait a second. Maybe I am. Maybe I am a different gender. It's like, no. What's between your legs?
you feel the same way I do.
I feel like anyone with common sense feels that way.
Yeah.
Now, do I think there is an anomaly, like a possibility that maybe someone out there is more comfortable? I don't like pretending to be the other gender. Maybe, possibly, sure. Is it possible? Yes. I mean, there's people.
there definitely are. That's
There's-
an established psychological phenomenon that there
Right.
are people with
there
gender
are
dysphoria.
people and they have gender dysphoria. Do I think it's been exacerbated by social media, by
yeah.
people? Like, I think the majority of the cases are probably some kid, not so popular, not very many friends. Maybe sexual orientation is kind of confusing. Like maybe they're gay, maybe they're, they're kind of like attracted to both genders. So they're like, oh, that just means I'm trans. And I don't think that's the case. And then it's leading to hormone injection, mutilation, surgery, like gender affirming surgery, which is also really funny because it's called gender affirming surgery. But then when you ask what gender and sex is, they're completely different things. But when you do change your gender, you're changing your sex, trying to change your sex. So it doesn't make any sense. People and doctors are making way too much money on it. And it's become a huge problem. Huge, huge problem. But it's like if you ask a person, can your kid get a tattoo? All of them, almost all of them can say, absolutely not. That's permanent. But then when you change it and you're like, well, would you let your kid take hormones and change genders? They're like, oh, well, let's do whatever they feel. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's always that catch-22, and it's ass backwards to me sometimes. Like I was having a conversation with my friend last night, and we were talking about the gender thing. I said, you know what? I'm changing my color. I'm not a black man. I'm going to go into some bank and say, I'm a white man, I'm looking for a loan. Oh, no, you're not white. How the hell can you tell? I'm white. I'm black on
That's
the
how I
outside.
identify.
I'm
I
a
need
white
you to
man.
respect my identity.
Yes, I'm a white man. So I go change my driver's license and say, oh, you put black on there. No, I'm not black. I'm white. But, no, there's no but.
But if you did female, they probably would change it for
No
you.
problem. No problem. And she's like, why don't you try that? And I'm like, everybody would probably laugh, but I'd be serious if I go to the Secretary of State and say I need to change the color on my driver's license.
So quick story. I always opt out of the airport, the giant microwave thing, whatever it's called. Yeah, I always opt out.
security thing?
So yeah, legally you are not required to do that. You can opt out whenever you want because there is a radiation aspect of it. So I always opt out. And this is at O'Hare. So, very liberal, woke, progressive city. And I had to sit there for about 15 minutes one time, and I was like, I don't understand. Like, what's the wait? Because they have to pat you down when you opt out. I'm like, oh, well, we need a male. And I was like, what do you mean you need a male? She's like, well, for a male, we need another male to pat you down. That's kind of our rule. And I was like, no, I identify as female. And she's like, what? I'm like, no, I identify as female. You can have another female pat me down. She's like, real funny. And I was like, no. I identify as female. I'd like a female to pat me down. And I just played it. And about 10 seconds, I didn't keep going because obviously I'm not very feminine. And I was like, you see how stupid that sounded? She's like, oh, yeah. So it was just funny how for a split second, she was like, oh, okay. And I'm just like, oh, my God, this is insane.
It's funny because you say that, and, in the days before all this came along, there was things that we used to say that were politically incorrect. Now, who just says that you couldn't be the masculine part of the relationship? You could be a female and still have that masculinity of a man. I mean, there are some women.
Absolutely.
I think they're women. That shows that masculinity.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I feel like we've made it sound like that's a bad thing. Or like if a man is a little feminine and the woman sort of runs a relationship, like it whatever. Everyone's going to have their own dynamic, but it doesn't mean you're a different gender. It doesn't mean you should go chop things off.
No, or try to add things on. Yeah, I mean, what was it? You ever see the movie Ted?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ted, yeah. The teddy bear.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was the first one or the second one, but he was sitting around and he goes, hey, that's not a chick with a dick. That's a dude with tits. And I never thought about it until I heard about it. It's like, because we always thought that, if it was going to be that way, it was going to be, but in reality, it's a dude that went and had boob implants.
That's true.
I was like, wow, this is crazy.
That is true.
Yeah,
That is true.
Hey, whatever floats your boat. What's in a box of Cracker Jacks?
Right.
What a surprise.
What did COVID affect you a lot? Or
As
did you
far as the
kind of
business,
stay? Yeah, did you stay under the radar? What'd you do?
um,
First of all, did you fold in regards to
I did what
the
everybody was
safety?
told to do.
Yeah,
Yeah, I shut my
the whole
doors.
time.
I shut my doors.
Dang.
It was only what 2.5 months actually before we could open back up. 2.5 months straight.
It depends on if you try to be essential or not.
Well, I followed the program that was navigated to us by the state, which I caught,
was very-
which I caught a lot of backlash with, and I was like, you know what? This is what the state says I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm gonna do. I had people literally get politically angry with me because their kid had to wear a mask. Well, my kid's not gonna wear one. Well, I'm sorry then. You gotta go.
Yeah.
And then I caught backlash from it on social media. It's like, wait a minute. I did what the state said that I need to do to keep everyone safe. I mean, you would come in through my front door, but you would have to pick your kids up around back. So they would literally
Yeah. So you're doing
carpool
that
around.
whole rotating.
Yeah, the
thing
whole
that-
rotating thing. We did the mask thing for as long as we had to. There was if the coach felt safe not wearing a mask and the kids wore their masks, then it was all good. But once again, oh, your coaches are not wearing masks, but my kid has to wear one. Well, let's see who's more acceptable than whatever. So it played out things, and we just did-
Obviously, we know it was all overdone.
Yeah, I mean,
At
to a
this
certain
point,
extent.
yeah.
I mean, so, but even still today, there are some medical facilities you cannot go into unless you're wearing that mask. No matter how much you bitch and moan about it or whatever you want to say, if you want to see the doctor, you'll wear the mask. If you don't want to see the doctor, go find another one where you won't have to.
Sure.
But people, it was a lot of
You're just
people.
following the rules.
I'm just following the rules.
Yeah.
But you're making me look like the bad guy.
Yeah.
Because you're not telling the whole story.
I personally didn't make that decision. I gave everyone, if you want to wear it, wear it. If you don't want to wear it, don't wear it.
Right.
Personally, that's what I did.
Yeah.
I was just very about like the freedom aspect. So I can argue both though, because we had people come in and like check on my business and try to shut us down essentially because I got like someone called on the gym.
Yeah.
Someone called on the gym and a health inspector came in. He literally saw me without a mask. He saw some kids without a mask. He did not care. He's like, "Are you guys maintaining social distance?" I'm like, "Yeah, as much as I can." He's like, "Okay, cool." And that was it. He didn't care. He did not care.
Now, there were some people who actually stuck to the plan, and there were some people who were a little lenient with the plan, and you happen to get a good guy. You didn't get a bad guy.
You run into a bad guy?
Yeah, I didn't have any guys. Nobody came to check on me. And if they did come to check on me, they didn't announce themselves that they were there, and they saw everybody wearing masks. Everything was 6 feet social distance. Parents were not allowed to really stay, because like I said, they can come around, pick up their kids in the back. I mean, they needed those activities still. But yeah, we just went with the program.
So did you obviously got a hit financially for that? No.
Also got subsidized for that too.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, there were people that was taking advantage of all of that. I know a few gyms that said, you know what, we didn't follow the policy. We didn't care.
And they took the subsidy.
No. I don't know if they did or not, but they stayed open. They didn't wear masks. They didn't want to deal with it. But yet, it wasn't like it wasn't real. People were literally dying from this. And that very first patient
Dying with it.
dying with it and from it. I mean, the very first patient that ended up at what was it? Anita? Was it Anita? In Schaumburg, the first person that came back, her and her husband, they were over at the hospital over there. They didn't want anybody to know where they were. They were contaminated. It was real. Most people are like, oh, it's not real. Because they always thought it was more of a
It was
political
real.
thing.
It was real, but it wasn't as nearly as deadly as we had thought.
Oh, it wasn't the Black Plague,
Yeah.
but
But yeah,
It was
people
still
were
giving-
dying with
it-
it.
it- yeah.
The majority of people dying with it had a bunch of comorbidities.
yeah, I mean,
So it was
some
usually
people-
like fat people that had some sort of other disease as well that would typically die of it. But yeah, it was real
yeah, it
for
was
sure,
real.
100%.
I mean, it wasn't killing people, like I said, it wasn't killing people like the Black Plague or anything, but there were people, I mean, I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Sure. And it was scary for sure. It was scary. Like when they were playing like the death ticker on CNN. This is how many deaths there are. You're just like, whoa, oh my god, what is going on? And you know, thank goodness it wasn't as crazy as you know we thought it was going to be, and the original models were wrong.
I found it interesting because it was like living one of the scenes of the Twilight Zone.
Yeah,
You're the only one that walks outside. Nobody else around.
you're gonna go to sleep and wake up, and there's just zombies.
Yeah, you know, nobody's around. You're like, wow, there's nobody out.
It was so weird. I lived in the city when it first happened.
So everything was shut down.
Dude, and it was
Everyone's
just
stuck in their
so
houses.
weird. Like, I'd never seen so many cars parked on my block. Like, if I moved my car, I was like, will I ever be able to park within a mile of my apartment again? And it was ghost town outside. Like, I'd be going outside. We're trying to play basketball. Couldn't. Just whatever we're trying to do. And you walk around outside, there's no one.
Exactly.
It was so weird.
It was really
Ghost
weird.
town.
I mean, if you guys ever saw some of the parts of China, when they, you know, how China was.
Oh, they were locked.
I'm talking, that was Twilight Zone for sure, man. I mean, it was like,
You were in China?
no.
Oh.
I saw like clips of it
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everything,
yeah.
you know. It's like, wow, there's no people out there. None. Nowhere. Not even on balconies or in the backyard.
Bizarre.
It was just total lockdown. I mean, me and my dad was like, hey, you know, we need to go to the store. What do we need to get? Nothing. We just need to go to the store just to get out, you know? I mean, we get in the car together because I lived with my dad at the time. Actually, my dad lived with me at the time. We would get in the car and just go for a drive.
Just
And
to get out.
Just to get out.
Just stir crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And driving around was like, no people, no traffic. It's like, this is what the world would be like if, you know.
And then all the toilet paper's gone.
That and the hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
I mean, that was crazy. People who went out and bought all that hand sanitizer and called themselves, oh, we're going to make big bucks because we're going to sell it on the internet. The government said, no, you're not. You're stuck with it. You figure out another way that you're not going to make profit on someone else's misery and whatnot. It's like, but no, it didn't harm us very much. I mean,
Well, that's good.
we
Good.
kept our doors open and we're still open. And so
Just follow the rules.
just follow the rules. I mean, that's all I could do, you know. And people, I'm like, listen, what do you want me to
It
say?
is what it is.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah. It's your livelihood, too.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to I can't take the chance of your child not coming with it, but leaving with it. You put me in a catch-22 situation here.
Then you do shut down if it gets contact traced back
Yeah.
to you or whatever.
I mean, it got really crazy with the sterilizing and cleaning and the multi-cleaning and the spraying down
Lots
and
of
the
chemicals
wiping
everywhere.
down. Yeah, I'm surprised people didn't overdose on those. You know, it's like,
People probably did to an extent, like walking into like just a room full of bleach.
Yeah.
Oh, there was one of the craziest videos I saw. This guy had a bleach spray, like some sort of spray with bleach in it, and he ordered a Starbucks because Starbucks was essential somehow. Starbucks was an essential business, so he orders a Starbucks. He asks the person to set it down, so it's drive-through. He sprays it with bleach, spins it, sprays it with bleach, takes it, starts drinking. Not even kidding. That's a real video. There's like some sort of bleach sanitizing spray, probably diluted bleach cleaner.
bleach and water or something.
Bleach water, something. Yeah. He sprayed it down, spun the cup, sprayed it down, and then took it off the counter and started drinking it.
You just got to build up a tolerance.
Just
To the bleach.
Just a little bit at a time, and it actually builds your tolerance for bleach.
Didn't one of our presidents say, hey, just gargle with some?
You're for Trump?
I'm not going to say any names. I'm just going to say one of those presidents says, hey, just
I don't think
gargle
he said
it,
that.
I think it was twisted around a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it might have been, I came in until end of the conversation, so I didn't question it. But I'm like, why would he tell people in the United States to, just drink a little bleach water, you'll be okay?
No, I think that was taken. I think he said something about bleach disinfecting it, but I think it was taken out of context.
It's crazy.
We'd have to find the clip, but
And then, you had the people who wore the mask. They wore it underneath their nose. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, you're supposed to have it over your nose because you don't want to inhale the virus or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you went, oh, I got a mask on. It's like, that's just,
everyone's just complying.
yeah, to the best.
So, what are we at, Alex? What
We're at like
hour?
134.
Okay, yeah. So this is about as long as I wanted to be, and I always end each episode with asking, So let's use a young gymnastics perspective. What sort of advice would you give a young prospective gymnastics star?
A potential star.
Yeah, or just someone who's starting gymnastics. What pops into your head in regards to advice?
As far as advice, I would say work hard, gain hard. Gymnastics is not an
I
easy
like that a lot, actually.
Gymnastics is not an easy sport, and you only get out what you put in. So if you expect to go into gymnastics and thinking it's going to be all romper room, you're wrong. You're not going to like it. Parents are not going to like it. And then there's another check mark. I would definitely say for parents that's looking for real gymnastics, seek it out. If you're looking for romper room gymnastics, it's out there. But I can tell you one thing about me. I don't do romper room. I take what I do serious. The kids take what they do serious. There are happy parents, there are unhappy parents. But our new generation doesn't like to work hard. And gymnastics is hard work. It's definitely hard work.
Yeah, I would agree.
So
Just today, the technique today was like I knew I can just kind of throw myself into a backflip, but learning the technique, it's next level.
It's a progression. There's just making sure that you're using the right muscles at the right time, the coordination. It's a lot. And like I said, you'll learn the skill, but it's going to take 1 to 400 times to learn it. When does the mastering skill come in? When it becomes part of muscle memory, and it just happens. It's like riding a bike.
401 and up.
Yeah, just like riding a bike. When was the last time you were on a bike? Not a treadmill, but a bike.
Motorcycle.
No, I'm talking about a bike.
No, I know.
I'm talking about not one with a motor.
Know the last time I was on a bike.
But the thing, what I'm saying behind that is that
Yeah, you get back on, I'll know what I'm doing.
you'll get back on, know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You won't have to learn it over again.
Yeah. And in case anyone didn't pick up on it, Corkscrew Gymnastics, I highly recommend. I take my boys there every Friday. Sam
Yes,
is
my little
awesome.
boys.
Yes, Sam
My
is
little
awesome
guys,
with
my
my
little
boys.
guys.
Yep.
Love
but
it.
anyway, Sam, really appreciate you coming on. It's been a blast hanging
Hey.
with you.
I enjoyed myself too.
Yeah.
It's been
a
awesome.
blast. Thank
It's
you
been
so
awesome.
much, man.
It's been awesome, guys. We should do it again.
Ha 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 ha!